Some of the worst decisions aren't made by the reckless people. They're made by the people who are competent but still somehow walked into the choice that they should not have ever made in the first place.
But if you keep using your intellect, then you're in a lot of trouble. I like to believe the intellect is step 2.
This isn't about judging anyone. It's translating what's happening under the hood so that you can make the right decisions when it comes to people, money, or relationships.
Repeated patterns are a real email, phone call to us. If we're doing the same thing or we're doing something or different things, so we think we're doing different things, but we're getting the same result and it's not a desirable result, big red flag.
My today's guest is Ajita Shah. She's having background in psychology, has worked for decades with people to recognize the patterns that make people to choose the same options over and over, and what happens when they choose something different, and how to find out those patterns. This is the whole conversation that we will have today.
But I don't advise anybody to use their intellect for decision making.
Not only this, but a lot more in this episode. The information that will be shared here is not a medical advice. So this is for you from my side. Not much, but you can open it. I just wrote something for you.
Oh, appreciate it. %1,000%. That's my work. That is what I talk about. So I will say a lot of very simple things to you. I call it #useless. Sit with a thought. Sit with a question.
Mm-hmm.
The answers will come. There are enough beings, energies wanting to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep using your intellect, then you're in a lot of trouble. I like to believe the intellect is step 2.
Mm-hmm. Step 1 is basically asking for help.
Your intuitive decision, right? So a lot of people, and I think we'll talk about this. Should I do this job? Should I marry this person? Should I start this business? What are the pros and the cons? And I'm not saying there's no value in that. There's tremendous value in that. But is it meant for you? So you have to know from deep within, should you marry this person? Should you take this job? Should you move to New York?
Mm-hmm.
The pros and cons will misguide you because they become very generic. It's a busy city, you can make more money, this job, you're going to work for Google, whatever. Very generic. It applies to everybody, those pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
Should you do it? Is the $1 billion question. Once you know intuitively that this is what you want to do, then your intellect is tremendous in setting up strategy. How are you going to do it? Who are you going to call? Then the brain is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't advise anybody to use their intellect for decision making.
You have been working with people for more than 30 years. Why do you think smart people make bad decisions? What they can't see and you can see?
So there are 2 aspects to this, right? We could look at it from a psychological perspective. In psychology, we would say, depending on what your education is, dependency on that education becomes tremendous. I have an MBA, I'm a doctor, I have this knowledge, and we start getting governed by just that information. We don't go broader sometimes. And there are times when that broader knowledge, information, wisdom becomes important in functioning. Like when doctors want to go into business for themselves, a lot of them fail because they're tremendous doctors, but they don't know much about finance or marketing. And, other things like that. So smart people tend to get micro-focused in what they know. They become data-driven. They come from a place of ego because I'm a subject matter expert, meaning that's it. It's the be-all and end-all. We don't expand so much. But if you go deeper, then what holds us back? Fear is a big one. We're afraid to be seen. We're afraid to be mocked. We're afraid of judgment. Now then, when you look at those things, there are certain people that are highly confident and some are not. So why is there that difference? That's where when we go deeper and we look at families, what was your upbringing like? What messaging did your parents give you? Did they value you? Did they make you feel like you were important? Did they make you feel heard? All of those kinds of things. And if you were suppressed, like a lot of parents say, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to study, these are the rules of the family, this is the legacy, things like that, then you should start to shut down. That's where intuition shuts down. Don't allow yourself to think. When you are not allowed to flourish, then you become very fearful. You don't have enough confidence in yourself. And then when you go out into the world, even when you're in school and college, you come from that space of fear, which goes into so many aspects of life, and then you don't do very well. And it doesn't matter how intellectually smart you are, and it doesn't matter how great your education is. Some of these factors are afflicting the smartest people. Elon Musk talks about it, right?
Mm-hmm. And is it wrong to think logically or data-driven? Kind of. Is it wrong?
Not at all. I mean, data has its place, has value, but it cannot be the only point from where you decide to take any decisions to move forward, depending on what it is. Data is great. But even let's say you're looking at your podcast, you're looking at the data around that podcast. But I would say there is the deeper part of you, there's intuition. There are many, many other unseen esoteric factors that are impacting you and the work you're trying to do. That little birdie that speaks in your ear? That might defy the data sometimes. And then you have to decide whether you're going to go with the data or you're going to explore this other idea that keeps coming up in your head. And what I find and what I invite people to do is it becomes a trial and error initially. Because if you're not used to following your intuition, then you don't know if it's asking you to go left, is left really your intuition telling you or some other aspect of your brain telling you?
So you can actually tell the difference?
After a while, absolutely. So when you start to play this game with yourself, that I'm going to try and I'll go left, and you see what the result is, and you do this a few times, then you start to make that distinction between the intuition and logic or some part of data that is coming in. It's a really great exercise to do. And slowly, when you start to have faith in yourself and in your intuition, and you learn to lean into that, then decision making becomes near perfect.
My understanding is basically like when we are looking at like so much content, if I have to take a decision, if I'm gonna like look at the data, right? If I'm looking at the data, maybe not at right that moment, maybe sometime later when I have to make a decision, right? So my understanding is if I'm getting a thought, that data or that content or the things that I consume during this whole understanding process, that what decision should I make, is going to be like, if I'm getting those thoughts, it's going to be based or driven by those things that I saw. And there is no birdie or anything, or I'm totally wrong.
The birdie is there.
It's there.
Because you were born with it.
Okay.
All of us are.
Okay.
Intuition is as obvious as the heart that beats in your chest. Now, most of us, for various different reasons, shut that down. And then we become very intellectual, knowledge-oriented, and now what we call data-oriented. And then that is all we work with. But that birdie is constantly talking to you. So how many times have you heard people, and I'm sure you have had similar experiences, where you feel something here, butterflies in the stomach, gut feeling, and you don't listen to it because the data says X, Y, and Z. And then you say, damn, I should have listened to myself. I should have listened to my gut. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. And what is that birdie? Is that an angel or something?
No, it's your... So we carry within us incredible amount of wisdom that has been amassed through all the lifetimes that we have lived. So, without getting too woo-woo, everybody has, we're a soul, and the soul is on a journey. So it goes through many different lifetimes, and in those lifetimes there are experiences like you and I live. This is an experience. And then that is recorded and it stays. So imagine if you have had 100 lifetimes. Imagine the amount of wisdom you have. Your intuition is your capacity to tap into that wisdom. That's why there's no external thing to do. You sit quietly. What you wrote to me and gave me, beautiful words, without knowing that it is that intuitive wisdom that surfaces when we shut down the external noise. And then you match it. The decision should come from that deeper part of you. How you are going to execute it comes through knowledge, data, other people's experiences, and all of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I have more questions to it. Like, so you said rely more on whatever we have gained so far in the past lifetimes, right? So less on currently what is happening based, or maybe like less on your current intellect that you have.
No, I'm not saying that either, because the value of intellect is tremendous. It is hard to explain it unless it's much more an experiential thing. Like, I consider myself fairly smart. But my intuition and my intellect, they work in tandem. So it's not that everything that I have studied or everything that I have learned, or that I don't rely on data. But that's not my first starting point. I will first sit with myself and do that internal work and see what comes up, and then match it.
So can I say intuition is what happened in the past lifetimes and intellect is what I gained in this time?
See, intuition has a lot to do with now also, this lifetime, because it applies to this lifetime. Now, who I was in my past life and what my experience there is not, we're bringing in some wisdom, but has to be applicable to today, to what you're trying to do here, and for your success in this lifetime. So, for example, you are doing some sort of an engineering problem.
Mm-hmm.
This is purely intellectual example. But you need to figure out something which is calculus based. Now, you learn calculus in grade 9. So you're going to go there, take that information, bring it to this project that you're working on, and see how you need to plug it in so that you can move forward with that.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you heard people say, something told me not to take that flight, and I didn't, and sadly, some of them crashed? That is your intuition. That there is, parents know their child who's far away in a different city is unwell or is going through a stressful situation. They feel something within their body. How many times have you thought of somebody, a friend of yours, and that friend texted you or called you, or vice versa? Mm-hmm. That is intuition. People completing each other's sentences. Partners. Mm-hmm. That's all intuition.
Okay, so you became in sync with the nature?
In sync with the universal energy.
Okay.
Right? So you have to know and believe that the matrix holds all the knowledge. I'll give you another example. Take Madame Curie or so many other scientists that are working on a project and they feel something's missing or they're not getting the answer that, they feel should be coming out of the experiment they're doing. And then they have what they call an aha moment. The answer comes to them. So one can say you are connecting to the matrix in that flow state, and you are able to tap into the answer that you're looking for, because the matrix contains everything, every answer, every permutation, combination of everything that we could possibly think about. Our responsibility is to go to that puzzle piece and bring it and use it as you need to. So it's not angels as much. Angels, if you believe in them, become the messengers of that information, but the matrix, the field, the quantum field holds the knowledge. It's physics, actually.
And the thing you said, if I want to see a difference between the action that I took or someone took based on the intellect or intuition, that's going to come with the practice.
It really comes with practice. If you have not been in touch with your intuition from the time you were little and you shut it down, then yes. How do you know that this birdie is a real birdie and it is guiding you correctly? You don't know.
How can you shut down your intuition? Like it's going to always come, no?
It is, but you stop listening to it.
Okay. It's there, you just don't notice it.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, when we're younger, it shuts down in childhood because you're an outlier in your family, for example, which means you think differently, you behave differently. That upsets the status quo in society, in the family. Nobody likes that. We like people to follow a set path because then everybody knows what to expect. Mm-hmm. Same thing in a family. You come from a business family. The expectation is that you will take over from your parents when they teach you and then they give it up to you. I'll give you an example. When my son was little, 3 years old, he was like, I want to be a paleontologist. Basically, he said, I'm going to dig for dinosaurs. I was like, oh my God, my child is going to have a hard life and he's not going to make much money. I don't know how much money, these people make. It was my first thought. I come from a doctor's family. I did not become a medical doctor. So I was like telling him, you should become a doctor. Think about it. Now he's 5 years old when I'm having this conversation with him. But I was a smart enough parent to not thrust anything on him. And he started saying from age 5 that he wanted to be an engineer. He said, I want to build bridges. And nobody in my family, both my side, my husband's side, has ever been an engineer. But then I watched him closely. He was very good with finger dexterity and, other math and physics and other spatial-based games and things. So I let him be. I let him cultivate that. And then if you hear his life story, it's very interesting how he got into engineering. Then he did a double engineering while he was studying. So I could have very well forced him into anything that I thought he should do. So today he is smart and intuitive. Because as a parent, I allowed him to speak his mind. I allowed myself to listen to him. He could unfurl as he wanted. So that intuitive part is functioning. But, if I'm a strict parent, if I think I know what I'm doing, I'm angry, I could be abusive. Then you're done.
Yeah. And so if I have to make any decision, usually I'm fighting with two thoughts. Should I do this? Should I don't do this? So is that I'm fighting between pros and cons, or I'm fighting between intuition and my intellect? That's the confusion that I still have.
Yeah, and it's probably a little of both. Because if you are more of an intellectual, data-driven person, then that is how you function in life. But then there is that aspect of you that is oh, no, let me help him, or let me save him, from making a decision that he's going to have to walk back on, or that might cost him money and time and, all of those things. So it could be a little of both. It's hard to say right here, right now, but I invite you to try and make that distinction for yourself. If there is a thought, it's almost like a voice in your ear. It's hard to explain because it's experiential. And see what it's saying and follow it, and then see what the results are. I'm 100%, I don't know if I already said that, intuition-based decision maker. I could have all the data. I will follow my intuition. And then how I'm going to execute on a program or whatever is what I use. See, another fun way to develop your intuition is when you can't find your keys, or your wallet is lost, or something. Close your eyes and think into where it could be. When you're looking for something, it makes sense to take a few moments and to try and feel into where it could be. Close your eyes and just... It's not thinking, it's feeling. And its energy will communicate with you. And you might think I left it in my office, but it could be in the kitchen. Because that's where you drank water just before you were stepping out, for example. And because everything is energy, everything has a vibration, and everything communicates with each other, then that you can pick it up. But it, again, is something that you have to work on, you have to develop. And once you do that, it saves a lot of frustration. It saves a lot of time. Just close your eyes and where could it be? And then you'll be in pretty well in the general area, or it'll be calling you so loudly that you're like, there it is. And that is a part of intuition.
So you help people in making the decisions, or you help them understand how to make decisions?
Neither.
You neither.
My work is to help you offload all the layers that you carry in your mind, in your body, and in your soul that keeps you from the most perfect being that you are. So your wounding, really, that's my major work. And everything really stems from there. If you are a fearful person, if you are not able to study, if you make really bad relationship decisions, everything I have seen over my lifetime, that those become the starting points. And in my healing, so I have two components to my work. My main component, my most valuable component, is the healing, in which I do not need you for anything, because I'm going inside your essence, finding the blocks and removing them. The other aspect is what I call spiritual counseling. It's a lot of psychology, a lot of human behavior, and that's where you and I would sit and talk about what's not working. Then I will come in with why it's not working and what it is that you need to do differently from a thought process, thoughts are the most important, because thoughts then create our actions. So if you are trying to change an action without changing the thought, which is governed by your belief, which is the end result of your wounding, nothing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And when you're getting that information, like, what are you getting? Like, is that a feeling or your exact picture?
A little of everything. A little of everything. Like the other day I was in a healing with a lady, and when I closed my eyes, I saw fire. So I asked her, I said, have you been involved in some sort of a fire situation in your childhood? And then she goes, no, but my sister got burnt. And so, I sense it, I see it. It's a very multidimensional sort of feedback that I get.
But it's never, because I've spoken to other people as well. There are always like, I'm seeing this. Can you relate to this? So if it is that definitive, like people are getting intuition, or you can get inside someone's essence or something. So why can't you see the exact thing? Like, or there's a limitation of what we can do. Like, not specifically about you as a human.
No. See, okay, so if you go to the core and look at your essence as a soul, you are limitless. You're absolutely limitless. But in this meat suit, we have limitations. For me, healing is about removing as many limitations as we have on ourselves, put on ourselves, thrust upon us, whichever way it is. Right? Because why do my clients start to flourish? Because those layers are removed and they become more and more unlimited with every layer that comes off. I'm not trying to make anybody anything, because they are absolutely incredible in their essence. But it is the blankets of things that covers it. So this is how I like to explain it. This is your soul, okay? And ideally, the soul should be like the sun, bright. But what often happens, because of the pain and the beliefs and all of those things, this light starts to diminish. And then it becomes a little pilot light at the bottom. And all of this is covered by all of these layers that I was talking about. My healing removes one layer at a time. And as that happens, this light has more space to shine. That is the process. Now, how it is done is hard to explain, but the result that you see is tremendous.
And you talked about the layers. Like, what's the most common layer? Is that a fear?
Fear, yeah, fear is a huge one, but then different people's fear comes from different places, but it becomes the overarching emotion becomes fear.
What are the other layers that you have commonly seen in people?
Yeah, so, people don't trust themselves, don't love themselves. They are fearful about everything. They doubt themselves. These are some of the broader sort of categories that we could talk about. Mm-hmm. When your parents don't sort of, they treat you in ways where they don't have confidence in you, and they don't think you're enough, and there's rejection and there's abandonment and there's all of that. It shows up in you will not be able to study. You can't concentrate. Mm-hmm. Again, you're overthinking. You deep down feel, what's the point of this? I'm not good enough. It's not that obvious that these thoughts are coming and that you can address them. They're at a deeper, much deeper level. It goes into your capacity to make money. A lot of people are not successful, not because they're not smart or they don't have the right strategies. It's because this stuff is pulling them down. This is how I like to say it. Mm-hmm. Take Usain Bolt. We know what his skill set is. Now imagine Usain Bolt running with rocks tied around his feet. No matter his talent, he would not have been able to achieve what he did in life. Our job, every individual's primary job, is to identify those rocks and to remove them. That's my job.
So, Ajita, I want to ask you one question. So everything that has happened in this world or is happening, right? You said there's going to be always something that has come from either past lifetime or either via childhood trauma, whatever, not even trauma, whatever thoughts or something that has been imposed on a child, that light diminishes, right? So the question that I want to ask you is, so whatever is happening now in this world, if everyone's light has diminished, so all the things that has happened so far is wrong or is happening in the wrong way?
No. It's a beautiful question.
Yeah.
A lot of us think that way. Yeah. What's happening is wrong. I'm unlucky. My suffering is God doesn't love me. I hear that a lot. It's actually the opposite. All of these things that go wrong in our life are an invitation for us to look at the same thing differently. That's one way to word it. Another way to word it is that you need to learn a lesson. Okay? So let's say you are impatient, mm-hmm. and you don't read properly, and you rush through your project. Then the teacher will find a bunch of mistakes, or you forgot to answer a question, something happened. And then when the result comes, which is contrary to what you would have expected, liked, or thought you were going to get because, you were so confident with what you put into the work, you're like, look at me, I'm so unlucky, or, whatever else. But the lesson here, don't be overconfident. Take your time, have patience, And every example has this element where suffering is concerned, that we need to do something differently to get a better result. That's what it is.
And what about like these guys like Elon Musk or like other people? They have succeeded. So, and if you have seen the videos of Elon or maybe someone else, I think pretty much Elon, like he doesn't believe in all those kind of things. So, but all his decisions that he's making is becoming right decision, right? So how does that happen and how is it happening? Not for Elon, like I don't know personally, I don't personally know him, for other people as well, like whosoever is succeeding, whosoever is failing, like for example, like we can ignore the people who have failed. So because we can obviously point out like they didn't do the right things, they had like the past things. Well, what about the people who already have succeeded? Like what made them make the right decisions? Because they were not aware of this knowledge that we are talking about right now, but they still make the right decisions. How?
Okay. Let's look at Elon's, and I don't know him.
Yeah.
Whatever little I'm talking about has come from the internet.
Yeah.
He had a very, very tough childhood.
Yeah.
Okay? He very, very tough. Like nobody should have that. We see his success, like take his rockets, okay, tremendous achievement. But he himself says, I think they had to do something like 10,000 times before they got it right. So it's not that he wakes up in the morning and says, oh, today I'm going to send a rocket to Mars, and by the evening the rocket is ready, and tomorrow it can go. So he goes through a lot of suffering, he talks openly how much anxiety he has, how much overthinking he has, how much he doubts himself. So he's as normal as you and I. Having said that, there are people who are born in a king's family. There is Elon Musk who is born, who has come onto this planet and is changing the face of the world. What NASA was not able to achieve, single-handedly he has been able to. Right? Yeah. Now, without again getting into too much of a woo-woo space, when we come onto the earth as a soul, whether we like it, don't like it, believe it, don't believe it, this is a fact. We come with a blueprint. Why were you born into the family that you were born into? Why was I born into the family I was born into? I never wanted to be a healer. It was thrust upon me because this is what I have known, this is who I have been, and this was the blueprint that I came with in this lifetime. Some people die early. Some people come with what we call handicap, right? There is a reason why that is the case, and we have to work with what is that blueprint to better ourselves, to overcome, and then there are certain things that are always going to be in place because that was like some people who are in wheelchairs. Mm-hmm. Even though I say the soul is limitless, the soul can do anything, but their contract with themselves was that I am going to spend my life in a wheelchair. Rick Hansen, for example, I'm going to motivate the world, or some people. Not everybody is on a world scale, but that doesn't mean that they don't have value. When we are on this planet, we have value no matter what we do or don't do, but we all have a blueprint. Mm-hmm. So Elon is following his blueprint.
And if you see someone, you have to, like, for example, like you're seeing me, you don't have to tell me anything. But for now, like, if we take an example, if you see someone, you see some signs in that person, or you have to like actually dig deeper into your process to understand he or she has some problem going on, or you just kind of a walking radio or like something, you're catching everyone's, I would say like wavelength, and you know like what's happening like all around. I saw this person just walked by, like something is going on, or you're gonna sit in your process to do that. Like how is it
A little
happening?
of everything.
Okay.
So, speaking for myself,
Yeah.
I have to take a lot of care to shut down a lot of myself, because if I was to allow the antenna to always be fully open,
Yeah.
I would not be able to function, because there is so much to take in, right? So I have to be discerning. But oftentimes, I mean, when I saw you at the door, I knew enough about you. I saw your picture. When we connected, I have a great sense about you. Should I come here? Should I not come here? Based on that. And there are many other factors, because there will be messages and lessons for you, messages and lessons for me through this process. If it goes brilliantly, doesn't go brilliantly. But let's take a common man. Not to say anything, but regular person who's not, playing with energy every day. Yeah. How often do you are in a restaurant, or somebody introduces you, your friend introduces you to their friend, and you have an instant dislike to them or an instant liking? There are people who are at a party, 100 people. There will be a boy and a girl, opposite ends of the room, and they will find each other and they will get married. Because each of us has that antenna. It is doing its work, but we don't allow it all the time. And so some of these situations, we may not, again, label them as we are trying to do here, but the fact of the matter still is, you're going shopping, you'll walk into a shop, not the other shop, and you'll get exactly what you were looking for. Has a lot to do with intention. It's not a very simplistic process, but we're doing it all the time.
Are there any red flags someone should look for? Like, I'm falling into that bad space that I should not be. Like, red flags for myself or for someone who's watching this podcast right now. Like, for example, like they're about to make a decision. It can be any decision. Maybe like stand up, go get the snacks and come back. Like, it can be any small decision. What are the red flags that you think or suggest that you should keep an eye on? If this is continuously happening, even with the smaller one, bigger ones, this is a time to take some action around it or about it.
Repeated patterns are a real email, phone call to us. If we're doing the same thing, or we're doing something, or different things, so we think we're doing different things, but we're getting the same result, and it's not a desirable result, big red flag. If you're dating the same kind of people who treat you the same way, you're in and out of jobs. Every time you open a business, it shuts down. You partner with the wrong people. They run away with your money. So many things. These are all red flags. Anything that doesn't give you your right result becomes a red flag. In a manner of speaking. Today we live in a society where spirituality has become a buzzword, yeah. And positivity is something everybody talks about. I meet a lot of people who think they are the epitome of positivity, and then I can show them that far from it. I call it, there's a term for it, right? I call it pseudo spirituality or toxic positivity. That's a word. It's a term. We have to be very honest with ourselves. We have to be very, very self-aware. Awareness is the beginning of everything. Self-awareness. Are you fooling yourself? Is your ego and your mind governing you? So every morning you're saying affirmations, you're reading positivity, you're giving and sending positive quotes to your friends. Are you following it in your life? That's a huge red flag. Because then what happens? We start to think that we are on the right track because I know all of these things, I know these concepts, I know about law of attraction. But you're not following it in your life. You know it here, intellectually. It's information in your head. It has not come down and become an embodiment. That's a huge one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you can embody all of these principles, you are going to be in tough spaces in your life. I mean, it's just, there's no two ways about that. Things will not go your way.
Are there any daily practices someone can do, I don't know, in order to be more aware, to catch these things? I don't know about working on these things, but I think for that, someone has to walk them through the process, like maybe yourself. But if someone has not gotten in touch with you, so what should be the thing that they can do or should be doing on a daily basis?
See, well, how does awareness come?
Yeah.
Awareness comes by looking. So look at yourself. Journaling sounds like a very cliched thing to do, but it's a very valuable thing because when you keep something in your head, you can't see it. When you write something down, it becomes very real. You can't forget it. You can reference it back at any point. So start writing down how you feel, how your day went. At the end of a week, when you read that, you might see you're thinking the same thing. You're doing the same thing. And what is the end result of it? Then you can start to match the dots. And you'll have a level of awareness around that. Intelligent person, you'll be able to look and say, maybe I wake up at 10 o'clock every day. That's not working because my day is short. And then I get a lot of anxiety because I'm trying to rush through things and I make mistakes. Very basic example. Mm-hmm. So now you're saying, okay, I'm going to start waking up at 7. Your day becomes bigger, longer. You have more time, less anxiety. You feel better, less mistakes. Ishu, the thing is that a lot of this stuff is very basic, very fundamental. There are we have to climb the Everest and we have to, read 35 books. Just start getting in touch with yourself. Put your hand on your heart and just sit. How does that feel? What are the thoughts that are coming up? Write them down. You'll know what worries you. You know what scares you. You'll know what you want to work on. Sit with yourself quietly, silently, every day, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. No devices, no nothing, just sitting. That silence will speak to you in incredible ways.
But it's so loud.
And it is very loud. Exactly. The answers will come to you. You will start to connect with that field.
Initially, when we go through this process of just sitting silent, it's so hard. It's so hard. I don't know. Is that a normal thing, or people reach a stage when they start listening to the actual thing, if there is that actual thing? I don't know.
Okay, great point, right? So we look at Zen masters, we look at monks, we look at people who are teaching meditation and talking about meditation have been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years. Now you're starting today. Mm-hmm. anything. You're starting to go for a walk. You're starting to go to the gym. You're starting to eat healthy. What is not difficult? It is very difficult because it goes so against everything you have done, and the mind has 60,000 thoughts a day. You cannot shut it down. Even with the people who are huge meditators, very good at it, have been doing it for years, the space between thoughts is still very minuscule. There is no such thing where, unless you're Buddha and, that you're sitting for half an hour, and because you've been meditating for half an hour, you have 30 minutes of a blank mind. So yeah, very right. It is hard. It is very hard. But please do it.
I have one more question. You said about writing a journal. I have a very, very weird thought process around it because I've heard a lot of stories, watched a lot of content around manifestation. So my understanding is if I'm feeling something wrong about someone, and if I'm going to journal that thing, if it is not real and I'm only judging, it will become real.
No. If we could manifest this way, this whole world would look very different. Okay? Yeah. To get to a place where your thoughts are created into a reality instantly, boy, you have to put in a lot of effort, a lot of work, many, many years. Does not happen like that. And all you're doing is you are owning up to how you're feeling. You're not wishing something terrible on someone. You're just saying, I'm angry with this person, and sometimes we have negative thoughts about people. Yeah. I mean, let's face it, it's normal. No, it doesn't happen like that.
How can someone know there's a fine line between when I need help or I need to work on myself on my own?
Let's say you're learning anything.
Yeah.
Or do it on your own. Or you get yourself a teacher to help you. You always get to your destination quicker when you're working with somebody who knows the shortcuts, who knows how to help you navigate the difficulties that you're having. So the short answer to that is it's always better. It becomes a question of a choice. Now, you could start to work on yourself, see how that goes, and then decide, whether you would like to work with a professional and help them just shorten the process for you.
I was watching one video a couple of days ago. It was a documentary, not a serious topic documentary, but he was making a documentary. His name is Johnny Harris. He made a documentary on why we are always tired. So then he focused on one part of the brain, why early man used to make so many, I would say, physical efforts, but still they were not tired. We are sitting on a chair pretty much whole day. We are still feeling tired. So how is it related with it? Because the point that he mentioned, they were used to make maybe 3 or 4 decisions in a day. We are making 10,000 or something. So our brain is telling you have already done so much amount of work. Now you're tired. So it is giving us a signal. So it's related and unrelated at the same time. I wanted to mention the point, we're making so many decisions, so many, should I stand? Should I sit? Should I hire this person, fire this person? If I'm working in a company, if I'm running a company. So the amount of work that is needed to be done in order for a person to feel that I'm ready now for the world? Like, is that ever a point that comes, or it's a process? You're never going to feel you're ready.
Oh my God. The biggest litmus test to my work is how quickly you feel different from when you came to, which is in literally 1 month. You're pretty well redefined. And you must feel ready, able, and hugely confident for what lies ahead. Otherwise, the work is not done properly.
So there are proofs.
Absolutely. I can give you 20 examples without taking a breath.
Can you give me one?
I met a lady in Dubai late last year. A friend referred her. It was an interesting way. You know, how you meet people was, for me, incredibly interesting. Anyway, she wanted to meet me. She came over where I was staying, and she was a petite lady wearing a white dress. And as I saw her walking, if I was ever to meet a zombie, that was it. Her face was gray. She was dragging her feet. It was awful to see her. And when I was just like, oh my God. Anyway, she came, she sat down. So she had been under psychiatric care for 12 years. She got 18 electric shocks.
Wow.
She was not working now for 5+ years because of burnout. And, you know, I met her last year in November. Last year in May, her husband had asked for a divorce. She had 2 daughters. She has 2 daughters. So she was basically French and she had moved from France to Dubai to be with her younger daughter, whom they were not talking to each other. Her older daughter, who lives in France, had anxiety from age 3 and no good relationship. Mm-hmm. This is the broad background. So I sat down, and normally I don't do healing on the first session. I just take the history. But I felt so bad for her that I really thought that she needed some support. Did some healing for her. Ishu, you had to be there. Don't take my word for it. Her skin became glowy, pink. Color came back. She was smiling. And when she walked back to the door to leave, she had a skip in her step. I came back to Toronto. We started working together. She would not get out of bed. Like, she was completely debilitated. She started going to the gym. She started making friends. Her daughter, who would not look at her, started coming into her bed. They started becoming mother and daughter. She started taking her mother to the mall and with her. All of this within a month. She was not even 21. Then she became my client. Big differences. She referred her older daughter to me, who couldn't function even though she had a job. She had an MBA. Massive anxiety. 1 month later, her boss, who went on mat leave, left the company to her to run while she was away. This is hard to wrap your head around. You have to talk to these people. You have to see them. There's testimonials are on my website. Mm-hmm. And Samya even says she was under psychiatric care. She did psychotherapy. She did EMDR. She did all kinds of things.
That was my next question. Like, why normal therapy cannot help in that case?
This healing that I do is very unique. There aren't a lot of people I have never met anybody who does that. And it really goes to the absolute bottom. And the healing is not incumbent on your participation. Right? I don't do healing for arbitrary people. I need permission. I will not go into your soul without permission, but I don't need you. Your life will change dramatically without me working with you on the spiritual counseling level and all of that, because it is based on removing the layers that are dimming your light.
I don't know much about therapy, but I don't know, but I'm gonna still admit, like, we are publicly talking, but I've been to therapy and I don't know the difference between, I've met like a lot of spiritual people, like I don't know what people are gonna tag me with, but I feel like I'm a spiritual person.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've been into therapy. So what most of the times they do is, like, you talk, they listen. But I went there to get a feedback. So if I have to, like, just talk and there's no feedback, I can talk to a wall or a door or something like that. Like, why do I need to talk to a person for that? And I went there. I think I've tried it multiple times, but I've not seen any difference, like zero difference.
You should try healing.
Maybe that's the path.
See, I have a psychology degree, and so I say this with with a lot of caution.
Yeah.
Why did I move from counseling and therapy to healing? Of course, firstly, it was my path, and without going down that route, I very, very quickly realized that working with the mind alone will not solve anybody's problem. The number of clients I have who have been in therapy 5 years, 3 times a week, calculate the time, and I'm not really putting down therapy at all, because there are people who benefit from it. And I advise people, if therapy is the way they want to go, by all means. But my experience has been that there are deeper layers, which if we don't tackle, it depends on what your problem is, right? Certain things can be, mended with therapy, and others can't. Like Samia, the lady I was just talking about, 12 years of therapy. I mean, there are other elements that, I don't want to share because they're a little bit too out there, but the difference, like being in therapy and taking all kinds of medications, she couldn't get out of bed. And I don't give you medication. I don't change your medication. I don't ask you to do anything, really. You are motivated to make the changes because suddenly your inside feels different. Now you want to get out and take a shower. You want to go to the gym. You want to join networking groups and make friends. And different from therapy, when I'm in spiritual counseling with my clients, I tell them what to do. I tell them how to think. It has to resonate with them, of course, but, go out, put out your resume, for example, will be a task I will give you. I will tell you. I will talk to you. There is no I'm listening. I'm a combination of many things within this therapy, because I know just talking and not getting any feedback is a complaint I have heard from a lot of people.
Yeah. And if someone is watching right now and they want to do something at home, is there something that they can do?
Doing this kind of healing is not possible.
Yeah. Because you said that you need someone to do it.
Yeah. And not many people can do this kind of work, right? A lot of healers that are out there, when you look at their work, they ask you to do things. Yeah. Then it becomes about how much effort you can put in. Awareness is a really big thing. It starts with that. Start spending time with yourself. quiet time with yourself. It is very, very powerful. Forget about what thoughts come. I am saying let the thoughts come. Interact with those thoughts. Mark those thoughts down. It's a very, very good first step. Where your wounding is will be in black and white.
Thank you so much, Ajita, for coming to the show. This really means a lot.
Thank you for having me. This is not a very common topic, and I know there's a lot of taboo around it still, but I really want people to know the power of this, the power of the human being, and the capacity that we have to overcome everything that we suffer and become the best version of ourselves. I want people to know healing is an alternative. It is a thing. And I appreciate you for giving me that opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.